2025 has been my best year in stand-up comedy so far, and people always ask me, Adam, why don't you have a podcast? Why don't you do a podcast? So I thought, you know what? Let's do a little dummy run, shall we? It's just going to be me chatting to you about my year, 2025, and we'll just go over it from scratch because when you're in the moment of things, and you'll know this just in day-to-day life, when you're in the moment, you don't really appreciate what you're doing and where you are. It's only afterwards that you look back at it and you go, wow, that was a great experience. Whether it's like, if you've got kids and then they start to grow up and then you go, oh, do you know what, I miss them being young. Or like you go to like a sports game and it's good, and then you look back, like a lot of Bolton Wanderers fans do this, they look back at when we were kids and they used to go to those games at the Reebok Stadium with JJ Okocha and all those players and go, wow, we really had it so good back then, it was amazing times. So I thought this would be a good way for me to kind of look back at the year and kind of share my thoughts with people as well, because people like honesty, and I think a lot of the times when I do my videos, because they're all short form, I can only give you like a certain amount, and people always talk in the comments going, what about this and what about that, and it's hard for me to discuss it all in that small window, but hopefully in this longer format right now I can share like a little bit more with you. But yeah, 2025, we're at the end of it now. Everyone's like looking forward to New Year's resolutions and stuff like that, and I think it's better to actually look forward than to look back in terms of your day-to-day outlook of life. But in terms of a yearly reflection, obviously you can't really reflect on something that's not happened yet. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to kind of unburdening myself and just discussing openly what I've kind of thought of things in the year. And I've actually got in front of me, I got my phone. So I'm going to go back through my calendar and I'm going to kind of just discuss kind of what happened this year. This year started really weird actually. Someone booked me for a weekend worth of gigs and it was a pretty good pay, to be honest. And they'd paid my deposit and it was supposed to be on the 3rd and the 4th of January. And they were my first gigs of the year and I was really looking forward to doing them both. And then they cancelled. But because they'd paid my deposit, they were like, yeah, obviously you keep that, because they'd booked me and they'd stopped me from getting any other work at that weekend. So we had this weird start to the year this year where I was up financially and I'd never even left the house yet. And my first gig ended up being on the 13th of January. It was a gig for Trapdoor, they do 2 shows. They do like them in Manchester City Centre. It's run by a guy named Tony Basnett. And yeah, it was a middle on that show. And do you know what? I was so looking forward to finally getting out there and finally doing it. But it was weird, like when I was on my way to the gig thinking like, I'm up financially and I'm not like I said, I've not even left the house yet. So that was like a great start to the year in terms of that. Starting off with that gig, I remember it's like a small room, the back of a pub. Everyone's paid for tickets, so they're all there for stand-up comedy, which is not exclusively what I do as a stand-up comedian, but it's basically what you want to do exclusively as a stand-up comedian. The majority of my gigs now are like that, but even going back just to last year, there was a lot of the gigs I was doing where it wasn't like that. It was, maybe half my gigs last year were just anyone could walk in and just come and experience them. I don't know if it's half. I've not run the numbers on it, to be completely honest with you, have I? But yeah, but that was my first gig of the year. That was like a nice, easy way to break into it. And so if you're not a fan of stand-up, if you're not a stand-up comedian, should I say, I'm assuming that you are a fan if you're watching this at any kind of level, that you are a fan of stand-up. Like how it works on these pro lineups is typically you'll get like one person hosting, you'll get an opener who's like a professional act, so you'll get one or two middle acts who are like, depending on how much you paid for your ticket, sometimes you get like a really good middle act. You get someone that's been going 20 years because the fee's really, really good. And then on the really low level, the middle act will be someone who's maybe been going 6 months. This was kind of not a really low level one, but it's not one where you're getting a 20-year person. You're getting someone like me who had been doing comedy, 6 years at the time. I hit 7 years during this year. And I like these kind of gigs because one, you get to gig with more experienced acts, like Tony was hosting himself. The acts that he'd got on to open and close were brilliant like pros for many, many years. But then in the middle, I remember it was me and a girl called Alex Stringer. Me and Alex started around the same time. She's from Liverpool, but because we're now stuck in this zone where we're getting kind of the same gigs and the same spots in the same gigs, we're not doing them on the same night, so we don't really get to see each other that often. So it's nice when you do get to like do these middle spots where there's two of you, because you get to see someone who like you started stand-up comedy with and you've not got to see them for such a long time, and it's a nice way to kind of catch up basically. Because I mean, let's be honest, let's face it, otherwise most of us aren't going to be messaging each other going, oh, do you fancy a catch-up tonight? Do you fancy going and doing this? Do you fancy going and doing that? Especially me and Alex, for example, because me and Alex don't drink. I'm a Muslim, she's sober. So, like, the two of us don't drink. So even when the other comedians do kind of get together and do stuff, me and her would kind of be on the outskirts of those things, even attending, because, like I say, we don't drink, and a lot of these things happen in drinking environments. So but that was my start to my year. Then I did a set of gigs that coming weekend after that in Hull, which I've been looking forward to for a while now. I know you sat there thinking, going, who looks forward to going to Hull? Well, in Hull, they have their weekend run of gigs where you do the Friday, then the Saturday. And it's gigs that I've been applying for years, but I wasn't there yet in terms of a level of an act. I wasn't there yet in terms of building up my reputation enough to be given a full week's worth of paid gigs in a city like all the way up north. It's part of the coast, isn't it? I don't know why I said all the way up north. Although my geography is rubbish, you'll probably get to see that in this video. So those gigs are fun because you're gigging with the same people all weekend. So depending on who's there, you could be spending the entire weekend with that person because they might also be staying over in Hull, like I stayed over. And then on the Saturday morning, you'd wake up and you just go and do things together, probably, if you had a good friendship or whatever. Now it happened that on that weekend, I can't remember who was on now looking back, but none of them were staying. None of them were staying in Hull. They were all going back home and then coming back the next day. So I was just like proper loner by myself in Hull. And then this is another interesting thing that you don't really think about when I was starting stand-up comedy. When people think of stand-up comedians, you never think about this. But the loneliness of the road. It sounds like a great first world problem, like, oh wow, you're getting paid money to be and just stand on stage and tell jokes for 20 minutes, great. How can you complain about being lonely? Well, it is really lonely the next day. One, travelling up there on the Friday, that's bad enough, but that you can handle that. You go and do the gig, then you go back to your hotel by yourself, then you wake up Saturday. Now, I was leaving on Saturday night, so I had to check out at 11 o'clock. Now, I nicked an extra hour in the hotel without them noticing, but that took me another hour. But my stage time's 9 o'clock in Hull. So I'm coming out of my hotel at 12, having robbed an hour. Now I've got a 9-hour run up before I'm even going on stage. And it was January, don't forget. I'm thinking, what do I do to fill all this time? So I looked, it's Hull City, the football team, playing at home. Because I love football, I'll go to any game. Hull weren't playing at home. Then I know they've got a rugby team. I'm not a fan of rugby, but I thought, you know what, for the sake of a few hours, I'll go. I googled that, no rugby. I don't know if it was a season for it or what, but there's no rugby that day either. At the gig the night before, they'd told me, if you get a bit of time to and you're looking for something to do. Now, I imagine the reason why they said this is because the two guys who host it, they're both from Hull. And I imagine they see a lot of acts who are bored in Hull and they tell them, listen, do this, do that. They said, go to the Deep. Now, the Deep is the local aquarium. Now, I love an aquarium, to be completely honest with you. And it goes back, this is childhood trauma I'm going to talk you through here. It goes back to when I was 4 years old, and this next thing I'm going to tell you, I still can envision it right now, and I vividly remember it. It was a school trip when I was I would have been 4 years old, reception in school, and they paid for us to go, my mum had paid for us to go to the Sea Life Centre in Blackpool, and I should have said Dad would pay because Dad's the one working, right? So they paid for it either way, and as Mum was walking me to school, we were never late for school. But this one day, we were late for whatever, I don't know if they were meeting early or whatever it was, but Mum was either doing my packed lunch or I woke up late, I don't know. But we ended up late, and as we're walking to school, we see the bus leaving in front of me. And I'm like, I've been looking forward to this. It's all they've been talking about in school. Oh, we're going to go to the Sea Life Centre. You get to see some fish. You might see a shark or a dolphin and a stingray. And I'm like, 4-year-old kid buzzing about it. Turn up on the day and I see the bus leaving with all my schoolmates, and I look at Mum like, what are we supposed to do now? Anyway, she ends up taking me into school, and I remember head teacher was called Mr. Cox, and we're there talking to old Coxy boy, and he's like, listen, you've missed it now. He's probably thinking, I'm going to have to give her a refund. I ain't giving her a refund. So in his mind, he's like, right, what can I do to not give her a refund? He's like, right, just take him home and he can have the rest of the day off, and we'll give you like some bits of like things, like bits of learning you can do with him while he's at home. And that's what happened, is they sent me home, and I was doing that. And then, one, I thought I had the day off school because I'm going to the Sea Life Centre. Two, all my mates have gone to the Sea Life Centre. And three, I'm stuck at home without all that, without my mates, without Sea Life Centre, without the fishers, having to do the schoolwork that they're all not having to do. So, yeah, that was absolute childhood trauma. So now anytime I get to go to an aquarium, I've only ever been to maybe that one in Blackpool Sea Life when I was an adult. But I love it. I love when I go. So anyway, I thought, you know what? Let me go to the deep. So you go there, and they do you a season ticket for like the exact same price as a single pass. So I thought, well, I might as well just get the season ticket, because I knew. In fact, I think when he booked me for the full weekend, the guy who books it, Big Lou, I'm pretty sure he gave me 2 weekends. He gave me like the January and let's just say June or something like that. So he gave me 2 weekends. So I thought, right, well, I'm going to be back here later in the year. I'll buy the season ticket one and I'll come back here next time because I know what it's like. I'm going to be stuck all day. So I went to the Sea Life Centre. Not the Sea Life Centre, the Deep. It was the Deep, not the Sea Life Centre. I went to the Deep in Hull, and I looked around and I looked at all the fishes and all that kind of good stuff. And that's what I did with my day. And then I finished, I spent ages as well, which was awkward because I'm there by myself, single adult, no kids. And there's all these families walking around with kids, and you sat there thinking like, what does everyone else think I'm doing here? Because I'm clearly spending way too much time for one grown man in an aquarium. Like, what's everyone think of me right now? But everyone's just probably paying too much attention to themselves. But imagine if someone's asking me, like, what why are you hanging about? I'm a comedian. I'm not got a show till it don't start till 8, and I'm on stage at 9, so I'm just trying to waste time. Honestly, I would petrify if someone was going to be like, hey, what are you doing here? And I'd be like, yeah, I feel silly myself, to be honest with you. But that's what I did. And that took me up until, I'm not joking, about 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock, 9 o'clock, that's a big stretch of time. So I was like, what am I going to do now? So I wandered around. They've got 2 shopping centres near each other, 2 little ones. I walked around them both, and I was like, it's 5 o'clock. Oh my goodness me, like, what am I going to do with all this time? And they'd recommended a film to me called A Real Pain the night before as well. And they're going, go to the cinema. And I thought, you know what? I've never been to the cinema by myself. Let's give it a go. So I went and I sat in the back because I thought to myself, let me sit in the back. So if I fall, like right in the corner seat as well, if I fall asleep, at least I got something to lean on. No one can see me fall asleep. I can just fall asleep in the back like that. Took that seat, watched A Real Pain. Now, A Real Pain is a story of 2 American cousins, I think it is. And they go to Poland for the first time in their lives. And their grandma was from Poland and she had to flee there during the Nazi occupation. And that mirrors my life. Like, my grandma and granddad were both from Poland. They were taken by the Germans to Nazi Germany. They had to leave. They had to leave their homes. They were taken by force. But then at the end of World War World War II, what was I saying? They got the option to come wherever they want. So they came to the UK. So when I'm watching the story of like 2 cousins or brothers or whatever going back to Poland and like experiencing it and like trying to do their grandma proud, it was like it genuinely is making me emotional, because I'm thinking like, I'd love to go with my brothers. Now, listen, me and my brothers, we're not mega close. We're not like, we've never been on a holiday together ever, the 3 of us, right? But I love my brothers. They're my brothers, right? And anytime they want to do something, if they were to message me going, Adam, do you want to do this? Like, if I was free, I would do it, right? So, but when I saw this is one thing I thought in my life, I really want to do this with my brothers. I really want to go with my brothers to Poland. And even though, I've been, in fact, I went this year, but, which we'll touch on that later on, which, by the way, I'm only 3 gigs in the year with 15 minutes in. I'm going to quickly fast forward past a lot of these gigs, by the way, but at the start of the year ones, they were interesting. I'm going through, watching the film, I'd love to go there, and I'd love to go and experience that with my brothers and have that kind of emotional connection with them, going to Poland and experiencing things that, like, because we've not, like, they went when they were kids, I went when I was a kid. My brothers are 15 and 10 years older than me, so there's big gaps between them. I'd love to go and do that anyway. That would be a great future vlog. If they wanted to vlog that and would be game for that, I would love to go there with them and experience Poland with them. And I think that's, for me, would be the best way for me to do it. My mum loves going to Poland, don't get me wrong, but I've been with my mum. And mum likes to do other things, but I would love to just do that stuff, although I would love to do that with mum as well. So maybe the four of us could go. Maybe my sister would be interesting. But my sister's very much like, I don't want to go. Anyway, that was that run of gigs. Hull, interesting town to be fair. And like I say, I love that club. That club is like, they're so great with you, and the fact that you can do a full weekend there, and it's kind of a taster for someone on my level to be given a weekend run of gigs in one club, because that's, like I say, it's how it works in all the other clubs. So I look forward in the future, inshallah, being able to do that in other places as well. Then next up, the 19th, we had. Now, this was a big gig for me, this next one. This was a big, so I'm not going to fast forward this, but it was Arabs versus Asians. Now, Arabs versus Asians, it's a gimmick, right? It's just so that people know what they're going to get when they get there. It's going to be Arabs and Asians, basically Muslims and Asians, doing stand-up comedy, right? And sometimes there's no versus really thing, or it's just we're all there, we're all on the same team, really, just trying to put on a good show, right? That's all it really is. And then obviously people see it on the thing, Arabs versus Asians, and if you're a Muslim like me, you see that, you go, well, that sounds good. That's like, I've never seen us do stand-up comedy before. I'd love to go to that. And it's really successful and really popular with audience members. And this is at the Frog and Bucket in Manchester. The Frog and Bucket's like one of the biggest clubs in the UK. Like it's, and on top of that, it's my home club. It's where I did my first ever gig back in 2018. It's a place that I aspire to be able to like be a long stay headliner for them for years and years to come. That's what I would love to do, and one of the things that I really want to do in my stand-up career, and that's like a long-term bucket list thing for me to achieve. But this is Arabs versus Asians. This is a Sunday night. Now, usually when I go, is that Adam, you're on first, and like going on first in stand-up is so difficult because quite often the audience aren't really warmed up yet. They're not really quite sure of it, so you've got to kind of go in with the energy to like keep pulling them in and like bring them into the show. That's what the MC's for. But even like when the MC does that, sometimes it's still a bit tricky to like really get them in. But this time I turned up, is like, Adam, I want you to close. Now for me, closing at the Frog and Bucket, anything that's not like their competition night where closing's like doesn't really matter because everyone's just random drawn. The fact that I got to close in a club where people are paying probably like 20 quid a ticket on a Sunday and there's like hundreds of people there, I was like, this is a moment for me that I need to just kind of take it in and like appreciate it. And the nerves were kicking in a little bit, not massively, but like enough that I wasn't really thinking of it on that level. But as soon as afterwards, I was like, that was buzzing. That was so good that I just had the opportunity to close what is essentially a weekend gig, good pay money, at the Frog and Bucket. Now, it isn't one of their flagship shows themselves, and I've still got a lot of work to do in terms of proving myself to them. But that is, like I say, that's one of my aims. But the fact that I could do that, it was a bit of a sample for me, a bit of a tester. Yeah, that for me was like a really, really big gig. Then the day after that, so this is 4 days in a row I was gigging in January. I was going at it pretty strongly at the time, I can see. Was a gig for a guy called the Mighty Swab in Bolton. Now, I love the Mighty Swab. The Mighty Swab is a very interesting character, though. He's a very interesting guy. He's been doing stand-up on and off for about 20 years, so he started alongside like some really big names. And you know, he's worked with on that intimate level when they were starting out together. But he doesn't treat stand-up like a career prospect. He treats stand-up as something that he enjoys doing, and ultimately he'll say to me, the audience just get in the way. Like, he just likes performing stand-up, and he doesn't really like audiences, which as a stand-up, you need to love the audience. You need to really, really be like, right, I need to tackle this audience, and I need to understand what they're expecting, and how I can sometimes subvert those expectations to get greater results, basically. That's one of the things. There's many things. It's quite complex. It's not as simple as just breaking it down to one thing, right? But he runs what I would say, and well, a lot of people would say, are awful gigs. So these shows aren't gigs. He has no form of quality control over his lineups as well, for better or for worse. The worst end of that is that like he will just book 6 acts who I've never heard of before. And the reason why I never heard of them is not for a bad reason. It's just because they're all really new. And when you book 6 people and they're all really new, someone's got to go on first. Someone's got to do that tough job I was saying before. And bless them, when you first start, you don't really understand the differences between being on in the middle and being on at the start and being on at the end and all these kind of things. So they go on and quite often have a really, really tough time about it. The audience themselves, they're ruthless there. They'll shout out. They're rough and ready. I love the audience there, but I'm used to it. Listen, it's a Bolton gig. I'm from Bolton. I know these people, right? I've known people like this all my life. But for some of these people, it's very, very tricky. So the quality that you see often isn't great because it's new people trying to figure stuff out, and it's not a typical audience either. So it doesn't align with other gigs that they've done before. And if you're not used to people like this, it can really, really put you off. Anyway, that was the next gig that I do. And those are always weird and wacky. And like, typically what I love to do is I love to just turn up, ask him if I can go on next, and then kind of leave. What I really like doing with those is I like just turning up late. I like turning up late so that I can go on next and aka last. And the reason why I do that is because I'm local. People have got long distances to travel like this, as you're going to see in this. Comedy's an unforgiving game. You're travelling all over the place, you know. So I don't want to delay people's things just because I'm going to rock up and go, can I go on next? So if I can go on last, at least I can. And I tell people, listen, you can go. It's fine. If you're a stand-up comic, especially, you can go. Like, don't feel like you have to sit around and watch me. Because like, especially I'm trying new stuff. I'm just doing crowd work. I'm not giving them my A game. I'm just there to just perform and like get some reps in, basically, like, because it's down the road. Then where else did I do? Oh, then I did Arabs versus Asians again at the Midlands Arts Centre. That was another interesting one. So same as before. Then I did that in London for them as well. I gigged a lot more in London this year, which is something that I hadn't really done a lot before. And I was a little bit wary is probably the right word, because I've done London in the past when I was probably about 2 or 3 years into stand-up, and I struggled to get them on board. And I think it's because I came with such a different mentality than what they're used to from their stand-ups. It's hard to really go into it without talking about the inner politics of like London comedy versus elsewhere and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was January done anyway. Don't worry, guys. I'm gonna fast forward through a lot of this stuff. February was started good. February the 1st, I was in York. I did a double. Now, a double is obviously where you do two, but it's a double at the same venue. So kind of like what I was saying in Hull, where you do one gig Friday, one day Saturday. This was 2 gigs on the same day. Is it called the Picture House in York? It's an independent cinema, I think. And then the comedy is like in a downstairs room. Fits probably about 100, maybe 150, something like that. And it's 2 shows with the same lineup, basically back to back. So you're spending all day with the same people and getting to know them. And that was, again, it's another really interesting thing, because usually when you go to a gig, you kind of turn up, you do your time, and you go home. And sometimes you won't even see the other acts on the lineup, because especially if you open, you'll turn up like, let's say 20 minutes before the show. You'll go on first. You'll come off as the middle act is arriving, and then you've not even seen the headliner, so you don't even get expect. Because again, it's a lonely game. You're on the road for so long. You want to just shoot off back home, don't you? Then the next day, this is February the 2nd. I did a gig for Chortle. Now, Chortle is one of the big industry reporters, let's just say. That's probably the best way to say it off the top of my head. Do they do reviews? Probably do reviews. Yeah, they do definitely do reviews. I don't know why I asked myself. So Chortle did a competition for, it was basically for some funding to pay people who were going to debut this year at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And now debuting doesn't mean it's your first time at the festival. It means it's the first time you're doing a proper show for a full hour. Now, a lot of people do a work in progress hour, which is what I did the year before. So this year was going to be my first proper hour. Things didn't work out in the end, so it's going to be 2026, touch wood, when that happens. So, but anyway, I did the competition. I enjoyed it. I got other stuff out of it. I didn't get the win, which, to be fair, works out in the end because I didn't end up going to Edinburgh. But if I would have won that, I would have just pushed through my other plans and just gone to Edinburgh anyway, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was that gig. Then, floated around, did a few different gigs. I did one in Warrington. I did one in West Orton for a guy called Ben Laws. He runs the nights called The Laws of Comedy, and I really love Ben. Ben's from my own town. Ben's been doing stand-up much longer than me, and he's been giving me a lot of opportunities to perform. Now, you know, touch wood, luckily, the first time he would have seen me, I would have impressed him enough to get more opportunities. And I'll be honest, I think one of his gigs, I had a poor gig, to be honest with you. I think one of the gigs, I did have a poor gig. And I remember feeling like, oh crap, I've ruined it now, because we had a good relationship. I was doing well for him. And now I've just had an awful gig. But obviously, he's seen me do well enough that he was like, no, I'll keep giving you bookings. And like I say, I got a lot of love for him. Great to hang out with as well. And like I say, he books me on loads and loads of gigs. So very thankful that someone in my hometown gives me opportunities. Someone who's been, like I said, been doing it longer, gives me opportunities. Same with Swab, to be fair. You know, I was joking around about Swab earlier that he runs rubbish gigs. Even if he runs rubbish gigs, he still gives me opportunities to perform on them. He could easily say, no, like you come here every month, you're just expecting to get on. No, you're not going on. But every time he understands that I'm trying to get better. I'm always trying to improve. I'm trying new material. I'm trying to make that better as well as making myself better. He understands that, so he'll always give me opportunities to perform. So Swab and Ben, absolutely big respect for them both there. Then I was in Bradford. Oh, that Bradford gig was an interesting one. It was kind of a corporate kind of situation there, where people weren't really there for the comedy. It was a charity gig actually. They were there to support the charity, and you've got to go on and you've got to entertain the people for like 20-30 minutes, whatever the time scale was. I can't remember off the top of my head. And they were great. Absolutely loved the people who were running it. They were so good with me. Like, even when I was leaving, they're there going like, oh, listen, take some food, take this, let me pack it up for you, let me do this, let me do that for you. So they were really, really accommodating of me. So yeah, brilliant. That's one of the great sides of stand-up, to be fair, is you meet people like this who, they're not just hiring you to do a performance, they want you to feel appreciated. So like when you are leaving, they're gonna let you leave on like a positive note, as well as not just there to do your job. Here's some stuff for you, mate. Then I went down and did some stuff in Shropshire, did another one of Swab's gigs. Then this was a nice run of gigs as well. 20th of February, I did Woofers Comedy Club in Chorley. Now this was brilliant. Like, it's run by Phil Walker, who again, he's been doing stand-up since probably the early 90s. And Phil's always been, when I say he's always been really good with me, he's been incredible with me, to be completely honest with you. I've only actually met Phil about 4 or 5 times, but every single time I've come away going, I really like that guy. Like, that guy is awesome. So like, the first time I gigged with him, he was hosting a gig for Colin Manford, who's Jason's brother. And Colin's another guy who's been really awesome with me as well, to be fair. So massive love for Colin. And Colin wasn't at the gig, so Phil was hosting it. And the opener had gone on, and they'd struggled, to be fair. They hadn't done excellently. And I'd seen them do better in the past, but obviously opening's difficult, and sometimes rooms can be difficult, and sometimes you're just not in good form. So a mixture of all that. Didn't go well for them. Then I went on and I had a really good gig, and Phil afterwards was like really bigging me up and saying, you know that was really good, you're a natural, all really friendly stuff, but a lot of people will say this kind of thing and never follow up on it. So I'm just saying like, oh yeah, thank you, whatever, not just whatever, but oh, thank you so much, Anyway, the next day I'm sat on my desk and I get a notification, Phil Walker's tagged you in something. I'm thinking, oh, maybe he's just put a picture up. He's gone onto one of the comedy forums and he's publicly gone out there and said, Adam Anwar, really, really, I gigged him for the first time last night, new comedian, absolutely brilliant, proper natural. I highly recommend that you all book him. And I thought, do you know what? For him to go out of his way and do that, I thought it was such a lovely thing for him to do. And then I looked, it was his birthday, and I thought, do you know what? He could be doing anything on his birthday. He's gone, do you know what? No, I'm just going to take 1 minute out of my day. I'm just going to go online on Facebook, and I'm just going to put this on there so I can do something nice for an up-and-coming comedian. And like, just, what a great guy. Like, a lot of people won't do that. Like, for whatever reason, whatever the reason might be, even if they do think you are good, they won't do that. But like I said, just what a guy. Like, top guy. Ended up gigging with him end of the year before, 24, and then he booked me for this gig. He booked me like months in advance, being like, oh, you're free such and such a date. I had the availability, and they booked me for this gig, like wicked lineup with Archie Kelly from Phoenix Nights, and just absolutely like top. And It's like a sold out theatre, like 200 odd seats or whatever. And the next day I had my solo show at Leicester Comedy Festival. Now, I hadn't practiced my solo show for a while, and I really, 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 really needed the practice. So, as I was on my way to the gig, I'm talking to myself. I got the train. I remember coming back from the gig, from the Charlie gig, being in Preston train station, waiting like half an hour for my connection back to Bolton, and just talking to myself, and I'm just doing my solo show out loud. I'm just doing it. Now, Leicester Comedy Festival was the start of an unofficial mini tour for me. I'd booked a few nights. We'll get to the other ones in a second, but I'd booked it as like an unofficial tour so I could test the waters, so I could see how many people are going to come out and buy tickets with just the name Adam Anwar on the front. It's all good and well when I'm doing Woofers Comedy Club. Phil Walker's name's on it. Archie Kelly's name's on it. There's other mega strong acts on the lineup. What about when it's just me? Like, will people come out to see me? And how many will come? And if I book them in different locations, how many will come? Went to Leicester, we sold a good amount of seats. I can't remember the exact number, but it was a good amount, and I was happy with the amount that we made from that as well. So that was buzzing. I went to Leicester. I've done my solo at Leicester the year before as well. That was really good. I've got a really good relationship with the people at Leicester Comedy Festival because they booked me for a thing called Circuit Breakers a few years ago, which is a thing where they pay you to come, and when you're a new comedian and do like, again, the full weekend worth of gigs, you do the Friday and the Saturday, and they pay you for both gigs. They put you up in an hotel, they pay for all your travel, all that good stuff. They get you some professional photo shoots with Andy Hollingworth, which is, absolutely class as well, to get that experience, to get those items that you can then use for posters and stuff like that. So I love Leicester. Love the people who run it, fantastic. Did my show, great stuff. Then straight after it, as soon as I came off stage, I had to basically go across the road, and then Just the Tonic were doing a gig across the road at a theatre there, which was like, that was a rowdy gig. It was a Friday night, middle of the festival. People had come out for comedy, but they'd had a few drinks, but especially by the time I got there. So I'm sat backstage and I'm hearing like heckles and stuff like this, and seeing how the other acts are dealing with it. And then I'm on stage and I'm thinking, right, okay, hopefully, because MC said, listen, relax, guys, come on, calm down, let's get you in line here. Done all the good stuff that you need to do. I'm thinking, right, okay, hopefully I'll go on there, there's no echoing. I get up there, boom, echoes are coming from all over the place, but I love playing a game of idiot whack-a-mole. Like, say something, boom, get back down. Say something, boom, get back. So I'm just going boom, 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 boom. Had a good gig. Cannot wait to be gigging with them again. They progressed me on afterwards. They said they're going to give me some more work. So very much looking forward to hearing back from Just the Tonic. Because again, the people are very, very much like enjoyed the gigs that I've done with them so far, and would love to do again. And I think that putting me in that environment where it was tricky and getting a good result out of it, hopefully is going to put me in good stead going forward. Then we've got some random gigs here, Oh, then we start the 28th of Feb, we start a massive thing for me, something that I really, really loved. I was doing tour support for Shabaz Says. You might know Shabaz Says off Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. He's the guy he's in his little snooty and he's lying down in bed and he's taking the mick out of rich people. I'm rich, you're poor, all that kind of stuff. Now, I bumped into him the year before in Edinburgh, just a chance interaction, got along, but vaguely got along, because we just, chance interaction, we only spent about maybe 3 to 5 minutes chatting with each other, and that was it. And then he asked me if I wanted to come and open for him on his tour. So I did like half of his tour for him, and honestly, I've done tour support for people in the past, but I've never done an extended run of tour supports in a condensed period of time. So being able to just open them in all these different venues, in all these different theatres, some went better than others, to be completely honest with you. Some went really, really well, some went pretty average. But it was a great learning experience, and it was a great experience to go on then. Especially when you have a good gig, you go, oh my God, that was brilliant. I would love to play these venues more and more. But then when you have a bad gig, you can look back and go, I need to work on these elements of my set and these elements of my performances. So massive respect for Shabaz, the fact that he trusted me, just off a chance interaction with me, booked me to support him, and then being able to do that at an extended run of I think it was 8 gigs in the end I managed to do for him. I had to turn a few down because I was double booked as well, so it could have been even more. So again, full respect there for someone giving me opportunities, someone who didn't need to give me opportunities, to be fair, but did, and I absolutely loved that. But yeah, so that was, Darwin, Salford, Sheffield, yeah, ton of them. Then, now we're moving into March, gigs here and there. Back at Creatures Comedy Club, which Creatures Comedy Club, it's a place that I've done loads and loads and loads. Now I'm moving into their weekend spots, which I love doing. I also love doubling up there when I'm there in other parts. Creatures is like a small independent comedy club that's just set up in Manchester, probably, about 3 years ago now. And setting up an independent business, like setting up any business, is difficult, but a comedy club and trying to get people in every single night and trying to give opportunities to people to perform and then mixing the rosters up of who you got on each lineup, it's difficult. The work they do, like, honestly, I couldn't do it. It's a lot of work and a lot of admin, but they're doing really, really good work. And I'll be honest with you, I'm really bad at networking. But like, they're people that I want to have really good relationships with them, because the fact that they offer so much stage time, like, I know that I can message them and be like, do you have anything on Wednesday? And if there's space, they'll go, yeah, you got it. Like, or sometimes I've even dropped in and there's not been space, and they've gone, well, do you want to do 7-8 minutes? I'm like, yeah, bang on. And they'll put me on. They'll just shove me in the show, give me opportunity to perform. Like, if I'm on the way back from somewhere, like I say, just dropping in, they'll do that. And I absolutely love that. That's a thing that you can do. And the reason why I do it is for the experience, like, to just keep doing it, because the more that you do stand up, the better that you get. You try new material, you sharpen it up. So, like, all great experiences. Then let's have a look here. We got... I did a rugby club. That was a bit rough, actually. I did a rugby club. These sports clubs can be interesting. I usually go down quite well in these environments. So I actually did, like, the week, like 4 or 5 days after I did the rugby club, I did a posh cricket club, and that went really well. Again, it was a similar thing where the opener had struggled. I think there's a newer act who was opening, so it's not their fault. I've never seen them before, but I'm watching them on stage. I was like, oh, they seem newer. They didn't do very well. Then I'm backstage thinking, oh, this is going to be a really tough gig. And then I went out there, and it was just on. Everything was on fire. Everything was hitting strong, and I absolutely loved that. I got another bucky straight away off the back of it. So you know you've done a good job when that happens. When you're coming off stage and they go, are you free such and such a day? That's when you know you've had a good gig. And you know you're dealing with good people and honest people as well when they're doing that kind of stuff for you. Then March the 14th, another person who's given multiple opportunities to open for them through the years, Clinton Baptiste. We all know Clinton Baptiste from Phoenix Nights. I'm getting the word, like, someone who I keep saying this and I feel like I'm saying it over and over again. I've got a good relationship with this guy, especially on my end. Like, I've asked him for stuff in my personal life as well, for him to do me a favour, and he's done it for me. Clinton Baptiste, Alex, who plays him, just absolutely brilliant. Like, I wasn't sure what to expect from it, because it's a character from a TV show, so how does it transfer to live performance and on the stage and having the audience interactions and that kind of thing? I thought, I wonder how this is going to be. And when I watched it that first time, this was in like Wrexham like 3 years ago or something, I was like, nah, this is an excellent live show. Like, no need to be like wondering about it. It is absolutely brilliant. And everyone who I talked to about it's going, oh my God, I've seen him a few years ago. It was absolutely brilliant. Even Peter Kay, who's a phenomenal lad, you get people going to him who have bad things to say about seeing him. So it goes to show that, like, you need a really, really, really strong show to really please everyone all the time, because it's impossible to please everyone all the time. But I've never actually met anyone who's been to a Clinton show and not enjoyed it. So hopefully, touch wood, more of those come through in the future, because, again, great to hang around with, nice, fun audiences as well. Then I was back in London on March the 16th doing my solo show at Angel Comedy Club. It's somewhere that I've never gigged before, but they give me the stage time to go and do my solo stand-up show there. I foolishly booked this in the middle of Ramadan. Now, as a Muslim and doing a lot of Muslim stuff online, a lot of my audience are Muslims, so me booking it during Ramadan, and my stage time was around the time that people were going to be breaking their fast that day. Very, very poor planning from me. Very, very poor planning. So next time I'm planning one, I'm going to absolutely work a lot harder at the planning of what date specifically I want to do my shows, because that was really poor of me. But I got a decent turnout. I got like 30 odd people, which again, for me, not gigging much in London, not really being able to promote it much because I don't gig in London. The fact that I got like 30 odd people, maybe 40 people there, I was very happy with that. And again, you know, the fees on that one was the kind of one where it like covers your transport, and that was about it, because obviously it was only 30, 40 people in there. By the time you put your advertising in, your train's like 150 or whatever, it just covered it. But for the experience, the experiment of can I run a solo show, it was very, very much worth it. Then again, back on the support with Shabaz, Burnley, Huddersfield, Shrewsbury, Leeds, Leicester. Leicester was the last one. Leicester was good because Leicester, it just so happened that when I was opening for Shabaz in Leicester, that a mate of mine who runs gigs in Leicester, Zane, he was running his show and he needed a headliner. And he put on Facebook, oh, can anyone headline today by any chance? We've had our headline drop out, and I thought, wow, this is great fate, this. I'm going to be in Leicester, I'm opening a gig, of course I can come around the corner, close for you, still get the train back at night and make it back for the next day. And like, yeah, just being able to do that, finish off those supports, which was, it finished with a really good show, and then go do that and close where I can just go and do like 20, 30 minutes. So just did completely different material. When I'm opening for someone, I like to talk to the audience a lot more. I like to kind of engage them and give them like my A material, because they've paid good money to come and see this person. I'm trying to warm them up properly. But then this gig, closing in a small bar in Leicester, I can get a bit more loose. I can just try stuff I've not done in a while, try new stuff, play around with the audience, you know, experiment a bit more that way. So very, very fun night in Leicester, that one. Then I was in Leeds doing comedy on a farm, and that was a fun experience. That was a mad experience, because the being on the road as a stand-up comedian who doesn't drive, so I don't drive, right? Being on the road, getting trains and all that stuff. Comedy on a farm is on a farm near the Leeds Bradford airport. So I've got to get into there first of all. Then the bus dropped me off like about a 15-minute walk from the farm. Nice and easy, right? No, not nice and easy. There was long stretches of road with no path to walk on. So I'm walking in the muddy grass with my nice clean Yeezys on, and then going in the road when there's no cars coming, and then when the cars are coming, they're going at 50 miles an hour or whatever past me. I'm like, oh, but this is a trek. Walking all the way back to the airport so I could get the bus from there. Then I was like, which side of the road do I get the bus from? I'm not from here. I'm asking the guy, does this side go to town? And he's like, I don't know, mate. I'm just visiting someone. I'm like, oh my goodness me, what is going on? So that was a mission, but again, that was a really, really fun gig, that one, comedy on the farm. Then the next day I was in Glasgow Comedy Festival for my solo show. This one, this was a tough go around. So this was the day before Eid, but it might have been Eid. It was Eid for some people, but like for me it wasn't, but for some people it was. And I got a very low turnout on this one. This was one that I lost money on doing this show, and it was a proper struggle for me to get people in the door to this show, to be completely honest with you. So yeah, I learnt my lesson on that one. Absolutely learnt my lesson on that one. So whether I'm going to return to Glasgow anytime soon, I think I'm going to have to really, really increase my profile there before I go back there for sure. Eid was the next day. Lovely stuff. Love a bit of Eid. Then I was back at Creatures Comedy Club doing On The Spot. That's a fun night when you get suggestions from the audience. You ask them all to write stuff down. You put it in a hat. You pull it out bit by bit, and you just got a riff. You just got to go from there and try and create funny from it. That was April the 2nd. We're in April now, guys. Then April the 4th, that was a gig I did for Ben Laws where I didn't do very well, but Eddie Brimson was on that lineup, and he had some nice words to say, like, you know, encouraging, trying to pep me up a little bit, going, it happens, mate, you know, that kind of thing. So Eddie seems like a really lovely guy. I only met him a few times, but a lovely guy. Then April the 7th is the gig that I run. It's the Comedy Loft House, and it's at Bar 3 in Henley. And literally, I don't like running gigs anymore. There's so much work, there's so much hassle. The money can be good, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for the money. I'd much rather just be an act and going out making the same money or more elsewhere, basically. But the lady that runs the bar is a lady named Roxanne, who I used to work with, and we're friends. We're friends when we used to work together, and we're still friends now. And she's a comedy fan. She loves comedy. So when she asked me to run a gig at her bar, I thought we'll do one as a one-off. We'll do it as a one-off. It went really well, and she was like, "Oh, can we do another one?" And I was like, "Do you know what? Yeah, because we're friends and it went really well. I'll keep doing another one. We'll do them until you want to stop." So we keep on doing them. In fact, my last gig of the year, we'll get to that soon hopefully, was at her bar as well. So, and this is another good thing, is that I get to run, when you run in your own night, is I'm hosting, so I'm getting that experience hosting, which I used to host a lot. Now I don't really host much, and it's a different skill altogether, and it's something that I want to get better at again, because I feel like I've regressed as a host, to be completely honest with you, because I don't get that practice anymore. Then moving forward, I got some like smaller gigs through April, and then April 18th, Good Friday, I did my solo show at Hot Water Comedy Club, the biggest stand-up comedy club in the world, the most famous stand-up comedy club in England, Hot Water Comedy Club. And what an experience that was. Like, it's a weekend, because was it a Friday or was it Thursday? I thought it was, it was a Friday first of all, so it's a weekend anyway, but it's Good Friday as well, so people are out because they've been off all day anyway. It's a weekend show, they can get out and about. So the fact that they're giving the stage to do my solo show on that night, and again, we sold, what was it, about 50 tickets, something like that. I can't remember the specific number that we sold, maybe 60. I generally can't remember, but it was good. It was a really good one. I had Cameron Jones opening for me, so I really like Cameron Jones' new act. He's got a very likeable style as well, very friendly style. And it seems like a lot of the time he's just going off the cuff. He's like, just, he's talking to the audience and he's laughing while he's doing it, like, because he's generally having a good time himself, and it's infectious seeing someone like that, like, performing. And that. The show itself went okay. It wasn't my best solo show ever, but it wasn't terrible by any means. I enjoyed it, but it was a tricky one, because a stag do came and bought tickets. Now, I think the reason why they came and bought tickets was, I don't know if they follow me, or whether it's just a case of like, they were a stag do and like, oh, let's go Hot Water in Liverpool for the stag do. But either way, they came to the show. The stag was on the front row and he was having a great time, so at least he was happy. But when you bring the stag do, you're bringing like what, 10, 12 people, 15 people, whatever the amount was. Most of them might not be bothered about comedy. They're just coming because it's your stag do and we're just doing whatever you say. So me as the guy at my show, I'm trying to perform to people who really aren't that bothered, and it was tricky. It was tricky dealing with them, to be fair. It was. More swab gigs there, some gigs for Louis Morrison, Banter and Beers. Louis is a nice guy. Louis is not new to stand-up, because I think he was doing it like 10 or 11 years ago. But Louis is a guy that he's working really, really hard to run loads and loads of nights, and I see it in him that it's difficult, and it's difficult for me to have a conversation with him about it, so I don't really bring it up, because my advice would be, stop running so many, because that's, me personally, that's what I would want to do. But I know that he likes running gigs, and he likes being able to host them and being able to like go put himself wherever he wants on the lineup and getting himself that experience. And obviously you're making money that way as well. And obviously I love getting the gigs as well, so I don't want to do myself out of work. I don't want to like feel like I'm raining on his parade by telling him you need to run less gigs. But like I see in him that like you get to a gig and the stresses of it, and because he runs so many, it's a consistent thing of like constantly having to put out fires, so full credit to him and fair play. It's a very, very tricky job doing what he's doing. Then where I was in Flixton for Ryan Kenny, good guy. Ryan starting around the same time as me. That's a nice gig, couple hundred people in there. It looks like a panto place, to be honest with you, the way that it's set up. Then May the 2nd, I was at the Glee Club in Birmingham. Now the Glee, it was like a step along in the trial process, and it was a tricky night. The other acts weren't absolutely well. The headliner was doing really, really well, to be fair, but someone else who was before me, how did they do? I can't remember who was before me, actually. Don't remember how they did. Yeah, I don't remember whatsoever, but like, it was tricky. But I felt like I got a good result out of them. I thought I did well. Again, I've not got any bookings yet since from the Glee, but it's very reputable promoter who I was like, what, 3-4 venues in the UK. I would love to get more and more work for them, and I really, really enjoy working on their stage. And this is the thing in stand-up is you work really, really hard to do good work for people, and there's not an overabundance of work, so you have to wait a long time to get more, and you have to be very patient, and it's very much a virtue, isn't it, like being patient. So it's something that a lot of people, when they first start, they don't have much of it. Then yes, May the 4th, I was doing what's called the Prestwich Double. It's 2 gigs round Prestwich in near Bury, and it's run by a guy called Big Lou. He hosts them both. He puts the same lineup on both. So it's that thing where you hang around the same guys all day, and it's a real treat. That it's fun to just be hanging out with the other acts. The first show was absolutely packed. The second show was like quite full, not super packed from what I remember, but it was pretty full to be fair. And yeah, the first show went well, and then the second show went decent, I would say. So I had a fun time on it. But yeah, it was nice just getting those 2 in one day. You hang around with the same people all day. How's this? How's that? You get into really catch up and get to know people. Then back in Burnley for Louis again. Then I was opening for Jill. Was it opening for Jill? Oh my goodness me, this gig. This is the gig you might have seen online where someone got arrested while I was on stage. Yeah, someone got arrested while I was on stage, and she filmed it and she sent it to me, and we put it online afterwards. And honestly, like, that gig was, if it's the one I'm thinking of, it was a rough one, that gig. It was like the 1 year anniversary of the bar or something, so they were putting on a free comedy show during the day. People were hammered. I feel like I'm mixing up with a different gig, but it was one of the Jill G ones for sure. But yeah, that was an interesting one. Back to a swab one. Then I opened one. What was that one that I opened? I don't know. Moving through them. Did Cast then came up. Cast came up in which is a theatre in Doncaster. That was good. Got a decent result out of them. I felt it went well. Didn't go like the best gig I've ever had, but it wasn't a bad performance at all. So that was fun being able to do like a theatre in Doncaster. And then we go to Comedy in a Van in Glossop. Now I'll be honest with you, I struggled that gig. I struggled that gig. I don't know why. I don't know what it was, but I wasn't firing on all cylinders. Comedy in a Van is someone who, they run loads of gigs. They've nice venues and stuff like that. And someone who's given me multiple gigs before, and usually they go well. But this one, yeah, I struggled in it. And I probably put in like a subpar performance for me. And I felt like afterwards I've let myself down, to be completely honest with you. But it is what it is, isn't it? You can't have like a great gig every time you go out there. And yeah, I've not gigged for them since, which I don't blame them, but I do have stuff in. No, actually, he's offered me a gig since, but I was double booked for it, so I couldn't take it in the end. Because by the time I'd offered it and, by the time I put myself forward for it and I accepted it, another gig had come in, so I couldn't take it in the end. But yeah, really, really good gigs. Then I was MCing in Rochdale on the 30th of May. Now, I can't remember how this came about, because usually it's hard to get an MC gig, but this came through. MC gig Friday night in Rochdale, and I had a lot of fun. I was on the lineup with some acts who were like, I think I only knew one of them, I think, if I remember correctly, maybe 2 of them. But yeah, the headline I hadn't met before, so it was interesting going into that environment. My first gig for this person as the MC. I'm not mega fresh on MCing, but I had a good gig MCing. I built into that one. I remember going up there, and I did decent when I first went on. And then the second section and the third section went back on and back on. Boom, they were really off to the races at that point. So, yeah, like I say, it's really something that I'm going to be working on, is my MCing going forward next year. Yeah, then we had some stuff in Altrincham, stuff like that, back with a swab gig. I had a York gig in a tent in the summer. This is June the 18th, in like a big teepee in York. That's interesting, isn't it? Like, yeah, I then went on the 20th. I had a diverse gig in Leicester that was booked by some priest. They wanted to do like a diverse gig in Leicester in a diverse area to kind of just like spread unity and spread like harmony between the communities. And it was great. It was a great thing to put on. They gave away free tickets though. When you give away free tickets, you can literally have anyone in the audience, and it was all right. It was all right performing to them. I had a great time overall, but it wasn't like a great comedy show. It was a great thing to do and a great experience, but as a stand-up show, it was a bit more sticky. Then I emceed in Bradford. That was fun. That was fun emceeing in Bradford. I think it was Idol technically where I was emceeing there. That was good. Then we had another gig back in Henley. Then I did a gig for Amit Mystery, which was a beautiful gig. It was his opening gig there. I think it was in Ashton-under-Lyne. Beautiful gig. Did that. Do you know what? I'm going to start wrapping this up in a second. Oh, then I did Farnworth Social Circle, which is actually in Newbury, if you know Farnworth, and that's rough around there. And I had a really, really fun gig there. Honestly, I had so much fun doing that. It was absolutely wicked. In fact, you know what? We've just got to the end of June, and I've talked about things in like a good amount of detail there, and we're getting to about an hour, so I think what we'll do is we'll call this part 1. We'll do this as episode 1, and we'll do an episode 2 coming up. So like, this is like an unofficial podcast. So what I want to do is I want to give you guys the opportunity to name the podcast. So if you've got any ideas for names of the show, put it down below. I don't know how often I'm going to do them. Don't know if I'm going to bring guests on and stuff like that. But I thought it is a way for me to just talk in long form and just get stuff out there for you. Obviously, it's been a bit like list format because I'm just going through bit by bit. So it's a bit more regimented, this one. So you might not like that in general, but I thought as a jumping off point to talk through some of this stuff, it'd be an interesting thing to do. Anyway, I would love to hear your guys' opinions. So if you have enjoyed it, let me know in the comments down below. If you've made it all the way to the end, comment. I am the barmaid of Wigan. Comment that. I'm the barmaid of Wigan. If you've made it all the way to the end, and if you remember that meme, more power to you. But yeah, thank you so much for dropping in on this episode 1 of my podcast. Will this become a regular thing? I hope so. What format will it take? Who knows? But yeah, either way, thank you very much. I hope you all have a great 2026, but I'll see you soon for part 2. Bye-bye.